Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. This is Real Talk with Coach Sherri, and I am so excited today to share with you this faithful word. You know that I'm getting all of these stories and daily words from this book. Yes, the word for you today. And I am very excited to share with you this story because I think it is so appropriate for where we are right now as a nation, as the world. And I'm really hopeful that someone that is viewing this video will catch a nugget that will help them move forward and just continue to put one foot in front of the other so that amazing things can happen in your life. So today, the story, and I really wish I could sing. I'm just going to give you this disclaimer. I cannot. If I could, I would sing probably half of this story that I am about to share with you. But bear with me. I'm not going to sing. I'm just going to read the words. But I want to share this story, and it's I called on the Lord in distress. The Lord answered me. And that comes from Psalms chapter 118, verse 5. The title of this story is Turn to God, He Will Not Disappoint You. At age 26, Thomas started a publishing company and founded the National Convention of Gospel Choirs and Choruses in America. He worked with some of the greatest singers in history of gospel music, including Mahalia Jackson. But one night, after singing to a St. Louis audience, he was handed a telegram that said, "Your wife just died." She had passed away in childbirth. Thomas hurried back to home to Chicago, where his newborn son died the following day. He plunged into depression, avoided people, and grew angry with God. I felt God had done me an injustice. I didn't want to serve him anymore or write gospel songs. Then a friend took him to a neighborhood music school. That evening, Thomas sat down at a piano and began to play and pray. He poured out his heart to God, and what wonderful words they were. These are the words that he poured out. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired, I am weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, and lead me home. Thomas A. Dorsey testified that the Lord healed him that night as he sat at the piano. He went on to pen more than 1,000 songs and became one of the most influential Christian songwriters of all time. All because he reached out to God for help. The psalmist did that too. I called on the Lord in distress, and the Lord answered me. So the word for you today is turn to God. He will not disappoint you. So no matter what you're going through, we are all going through, we always go through. Always turn to God because he will not disappoint you. This story reminded me of when I became my mother's primary caregiver. And after being in the hospital with her every single solitary day and night for 6 weeks straight, I remember bringing her home. And I remember putting her to bed, and it was a restless first night. I didn't know how I was going to take care of her. I still had my children, my husband. I didn't know what I was doing. I was not medically equipped. And I had to learn so many things in such a short amount of time. And I remember not even being able to sleep in my own bed for the first couple of nights because I was nervous. You know, I slept on the sofa closer to her room so that I could hear her. It was almost like having a premature baby that I just brought home from the hospital. And I remember one day after putting her to bed and walking through the family room, and I just looked up in the sky and I was like, God, is this what my life has come to? Because prior to that, so much was going on with my career, similar to what Thomas Dorsey, you know, he was going and had his choir and they were going all over the country singing, and you know, he had gathered a lot of fame and probably fortune as well. And I felt like my career was just at the brim. You know, things were starting to happen. I was getting interviewed for magazines and so many things were starting to happen, but all of that had to come to a stop. And like the death of his wife and his son, everything that he had done to that point had come to a stop. But it's just a stop for that moment. It's a stop for that chapter. Because when you call to God and you reach out to him, he will not disappoint you. Turn to him. I turned to him. And when I turned to him and asked, is this what my life has turned to? He said no. And it opened up a door for me that I never would have walked into otherwise. I began to coach women all over the country virtually. And back then, that was not a thing. It was a relatively new concept. And it really exposed me to workforce development and how to prepare people for their next career. And so with Thomas Dorsey, having penned thousands of amazing songs, and I know the song that I just sang or read to you, you are all so familiar with. Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on. That's what you need to do. Ask God, take my hand, trust in him, because he will not disappoint you. I hope that you were able to receive this message. And if you think someone else needs to hear it as well, please be sure to share. I appreciate you for tuning in. Until we speak again, please stay safe. This has been Real Talk with Coach Sherri.